Hello and welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Pasang Doji. Our top stories this week. His Majesty the King grants Kasho appointing the interim government. Women's quota suggested as temporary measure to increase women representation in Parliament. Newspaper journalist sentenced to 3 months prison term for libel case. His Majesty the King granted a Kasho appointing the interim government yesterday. According to Article 19 of the Constitution of Kingdom of Bhutan, whenever the National Assembly is dissolved, the Druk Gyalpo shall appoint an interim government to function for a period which shall not exceed 90 days to enable the Election Commission to hold free and fair elections.
In accordance with the Constitution, His Majesty the King appointed the Chief Justice, Dasho Sring Wangchuk, as the Chief Advisor of the interim government. His Majesty the King appointed Dasho Karma Ura, President of Center for Bhutan Studies, Dasho Penjo, Governor of Royal Monetary Authority, Dasho Ugyen Chawang, Chairman of Druk Holding and Investments, Dasho Chawang Rinzin, Managing Director of Druk Green Power Corporation, Dasho Karma Sitim, Chairperson of Royal Civil Service Commission, Kile Yangzum, Chairperson of the Anti-Corruption Commission, Nirup Doji, Vice Chancellor of Royal University of Bhutan, and Bachu Phup Doji, Managing Director of Quinsel Corporation, as the advisors who will constitute the interim government. The royal decree directs the interim government to ensure uninterrupted continuance of the routine functions of the government until the new Prime Minister enters office after the new National Assembly has been constituted. Tanden Finso, BBS News.
Benefits of breastfeeding go beyond just quenching a child's thirst or protecting the baby from diseases. It actually has enormous health benefits for mothers as well. Studies show that breastfeeding can indeed reduce risk of developing certain types of cancer among breastfeeding mothers.
Medical professionals have proven breastfeeding helps reduce the risk of breast, uterine and ovarian cancer. Studies have also found that mothers who stop breastfeeding way too early or in the first few days or weeks are more likely to develop postnatal depression. According to The Lancet, an international medical journal, for each year a mother breastfeeds, her risk of developing invasive breast cancer decreases by 6%.
Once the breastfeeding is initiated, it can help to reduce the bleeding that is happening after birth sometimes. It can reduce the stress and can prevent postnatal depression of the mother. It can also help to prevent obesity in the long run because there are studies that show that the women can lose weight if they initiate the breastfeeding.
Despite the research-based evidence, not many women are aware of maternal health benefits of breastfeeding.
We breastfeed our babies to protect them from diseases. However, I have no idea how breastfeeding helps improve my health.
It's actually good for the babies. Gamji baby disuki gamji gopchira, ngachiki continue be, kondisulo breastfeeding bini. They with the mothers, ngachi mothers lo benefit di amchimi, kachbil abdal mo ngachi, kachizabchira all it goes from the breast. So I think it will benefit the babies.
If we breastfeed the baby, the benefit I can think of is that it will keep the baby healthy and we can feel a strong bond between us.
It is also found that in the short term, breastfeeding delays the return to fertility, while the long-term benefits include reduced chances of suffering from type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a serious medical condition which requires anti-diabetic medications to keep blood sugar level under control. Phup KM for BBS News.
Bhutan Network for Empowering Women suggests women quota as a temporary measure to increase women's representation in the parliament. This is considering the negligible number of women standing for the upcoming parliamentary elections. But there are mixed reactions towards this suggestion. Some say it could undermine the potential of women, while some share quota with proper definition and conditions could be a good tool.
Meager representation of women in parliament is an issue in almost every part of the world. The global average of women in parliament is 20%. The highest percentage of women in parliament Bhutan saw was in 2008 at 14%. Bhutan Network for Empowering Women says quota as a system or a concept could be a fast-track measure to enhance women's representation in politics.
Out of the 15 countries globally that have managed to consistently maintain above 30% women representation in the parliament, you will see that at least 11 out of those countries actually have a quota system.
Party representatives and aspiring women contestants shared mixed reaction towards having the quota system. A few women shared, on a positive note, quota could be a good temporary measure.
다 미실루베루 데 암시디수 다 공기 로티 숲지 조춘수기 데 두시 아니 두시지 데 내땅 안에 숨지 그치로 지구 휴춘수디 데들 quota system 지 자디 베서치로 데 암시디수로 펜토니메스 노멜라.
We have also made a pledge that by 2030 we will work towards Planet 50-50. Today we are only 12 years away from achieving this goal, and we are nowhere close achieving the target of 50-50 in the political sphere at the rate we are moving right now.
A quota system could be a useful tool to just kickstart and to just create that mass of women in political career. So in one way I feel that quota system can work, but it should not be quota for the sake of quota and in terms of numbers. I think we can still equate with same capability, same educational background, same experiences as male colleagues.
But then there are also reservations.
Indeed, there's a need for political participation from the women. And Bhutan Kenyam Party has made every effort to encourage women participation. Thereby, within Bhutan Kenyam Party, we have a policy to encourage women by 30%. But that doesn't mean it's a quota reserved for the women. What we encourage most is competency, knowledge, experience, and commitment.
Ralu loti supchi zochu tele chogengi japchudi rangira te thopsup dochi bewachindi te ani te achichi quota system odi di amsudi sulute rangi takachilanga ta panyamchi kiswebala te toy hengai chunsunimela ani be bodalu te quota system di mangobzum be jeomela.
Maybe we are too early as well, because we just third round of election and we keep on harping on no women, and as I said, many old democracies in the world still are struggling with women, and maybe politics is not the choice of a woman.
The National Conference on Women in Governance, Leadership and Politics in Bhutan last year saw discussions on introducing quota for women. But the discussion was controversial, drawing in examples of negative experiences from the region, and could not come to a consensus. BNews says quota does work if it is implemented under proper legislation, legal framework and policy. Following the conference, the National Commission for Women and Children proposed a quota system for Bhutan, which is not yet approved by the cabinet.
In this case, it's being suggested that from every constituency, there should be a male candidate and a female candidate. And the female candidate should be equally searched and vetted and screened to be equally competent and capable through the same criteria that you would apply to the male candidates. And then the public, the voters are presented with a male candidate and a female candidate.
Regardless of whether parties or both men and women agree or not on introducing quota, there is one thing everybody agrees on: the vitality of women's representation in the parliament or any decision-making body.
It's not that men do not think about women, but I think it's also because they do not have the same experiences, lived experiences as us, as women. Therefore, no matter how hard they try, it will not be as deep and as sensitive as we want it.
We would encourage women because there are certain areas where men can't see. biologically sometimes we don't see what the women see. So therefore, in that regard, yes, we would like to encourage women, but not on quota.
암수디수야 동카된데 암수다 자찰레베오진 둑주당바디치야 암수기 representative 암수기 팀이디야 옆도 집에오친디 때 두개 갑날루다 가실로 마치기 미실베루라 때 레줌 조츠보.
The reasons why we have growing number of social problems in the country is largely because of this huge gender gap we've had in decision-making forum. So taking from that point of view, I think it's important, it's absolutely essential that women are there in bigger numbers to be the voice of half the population.
I think needs and desires and expectations of what can be seen from the male's perspective may be different from how a female can see the perspective of certain issues.
Although laws and policies in the country are not restrictive against women, as it is elsewhere in the world, women's representation in politics and elected positions still remains less. Requiring a review of the electoral laws and legislations and policy changes, the idea of quota is definitely not happening for this parliamentary election, which is just around the corner. But it could be a topic of discussion for policymakers and legislative bodies to make it happen for the next round of elections if women's representation in politics is vital. Pup Game for BBS News.
Political parties have now become the talk of the town. With the National Assembly election round the corner, parties are at their best meeting supporters and trying to gain as much as possible from every gathering. This is one of the most important transitions that decides the future of a country. And when we talk about future, it is about youth. For the country's youth, employment, education, corruption and clean governance are of paramount importance.
As a youth, I expect that the upcoming government will do their best and do something right, do something that is possible within their grasp to eradicate corruption in the first place and to help what is possible.
My other expectation would be to emphasize more on mental health, especially of the youths, because we have serious problems like suicide and other problems related to our mental health. So I expect the new government to emphasize more on the mental health issues of the youth and to bring in new solutions to unemployment as well.
마치기 대학합이 미세 차차블라 마체슈치라 세남로 텐데 데미 마발라 세남로 텐데 데미 임달로 땡아치기 동셉날 데미 미세 차차 세남기 탱고 남세미 메버간레 콩기 톰 나레파 포슈베디 제미멜라 때 아니 날로 마치기 아니 포슈베 조다랑 마치기 이칼레 발라 라베미기 레미 마토베 강일 좀 마발라 때 파슈미스기 레미 마토베 강일 중 로달로 마치기 아니기 강일지 세수바진라 아니기 까린치니 미스니.
A matured response from the youth means the four parties have lot more to do than what was done in the past. The new government shall be formed by November. And if they want to invest in the future of the country, youth should be in the forefront. Pasang Doji for BBS News. What would you do if you see a store full of goods but no shopkeeper inside? Would you take the goods for free, or would you be honest and leave the money for the things you take? The Honest Shop at Bajo in Wangdifodrang seeks to test the integrity of locals. The shop has no staff and payments are made into an honest box.
People can buy various fruits and vegetables at the Honesty Shop set up by the Agriculture Research and Development Center. All the items are already packed and cost 10 Neutrum each. But whether one decides to pay for the goods or not depends on one's honesty, because the Honesty Shop has no one to make sure payments are made. Instead, a box called the Honest Box is kept in one corner for the payments. The shop set up in November last year on trial is a one-of-a-kind shop that most people are not used to. But so far, the shop is operating well.
We get all kinds of organic vegetables and fruits here. Even the price here is very reasonable. I have been buying goods from here and I would like to continue like this.
We do not have to interact or bargain here. There are no cameras to monitor. We just have to pick up the items we want and deposit the money. However, there are chances that people might take the goods for free as there is no one to monitor.
ARDC conducted an analysis and found out that the integrity of the people is more than 95%. This, according to officials, is a great success and encouraging. The sole purpose of the initiative is to reduce human effort and wastage of time.
We need to have a sense of trust between the consumers and sellers. The customers must also be mindful not to take things for free. If it happens, the sole purpose is not fulfilled. People do know the hardship faced to grow these vegetables, and so far, people have been generously depositing the money in the box.
The fruits and vegetables being sold are all grown by the center to be originally used as seeds but which become unwanted later on. The shop has no cameras or other forms of surveillances. For Komal Kharka in Wandipodra, Yishe Gelson, BBS News.
The recent secondary graduates from Samsi College of Education with biology, chemistry and physics are left with no jobs in the civil service this year. The reason, the Education Ministry has excess teachers for these subjects. This is according to Teacher Requirement Exercise or TRE prepared by the Education Ministry.
Over 100 graduates with science background from Samsi College of Education graduated in June this year. But only 6 vacancies are available in the civil service this time. While B.Ed graduates with other courses have been busy preparing for civil service examinations scheduled in October, almost all the science graduates have been walking from office to office to inquire about the slots. We spoke to some of them, but they did not want to reveal their identities.
We didn't get any information when we were in college law. So after registrations, there was a slot announcement. So when there was an announcement of slot, there was no any slot for biochemistry. So that was a surprise thing for us. So there was no any announcements before the registration.
I had great hope to join as a civil servant, but when I reached here, there are no slots for our course. We are helpless. We even approached the Chief Human Resource Officer of the Education Ministry. He said there are no slots for us, and he informed us once it is announced by the Royal Civil Service Commission, the ministry cannot do anything.
There's no slot for physics, but then there's slots of 6, but that is also not under Ministry of Education, but it is under Ministry of Labour and Human Resources. So we hope that the government take more initiatives and then help us in recruiting in the government jobs.
The Education Ministry said,
Teacher requirement exercise shows access in teachers in the above mentioned subjects. The RCSC has rightly pointed out that the ministry did not provide teacher requisition for biology and chemistry, including physics, this year for both the categories B.Ed and PGDE due to the reasons stated above. It will only add to teacher access if the ministry does not put check and balance to the system.
Unless there are some shortages of science teachers, recruiting them as a permanent teacher would be impossible for the ministry. And acknowledging them as trained teachers, the ministry will recruit them as temporary teachers if required.
There is a possibility of recruiting them as substitute teachers on contract basis for a stipulated period in place of teachers on study leave, extraordinary leave and maternity leave. The ministry has also sent a letter and guideline to Dzongkhaks and Thomdaes to initiate the recruitment of substitute teachers as and when vacancy arises.
Over 500 B.Ed graduates will compete for 237 teaching jobs this year. For Pema Thawang, Kilidem, BBS News.
Drugbot will represent Bhutan in the country's maiden appearance at an international robotics competition. The Bhutanese team of 6, including the developers, will leave for the competition first Global Robotics Challenge in Mexico tomorrow.
Resembling a dragon, Drugbot will be among the 175 robots from across the globe taking part in the Robotics Olympics. It took 3 months for the 3 young Bhutanese developers to assemble the robot at Fab Lab Bhutan.
Basically, first they sent us a kit. The same kit was sent to all of the countries, so the game was totally fair. And then from the kit, firstly we had a lot of challenges because we were very much unfamiliar to the kit. After some time we figured out how these work, and then how it basically works is there's a brain. The main brain of the robot is the control hub.
Drugbot's main features, in line with the competition's theme Energy Impact, are a jaw that can lift objects almost 2 meters high and a propeller that can start a windmill by rotating the main arms.
So basically in the competition, we are going to be given a task of lifting up cubes and then placing it in certain positions, and that gives us points. So we will be given 2.5 minutes to complete the task. There will be 3 of our alliances totally randomly picked by the organizers. So we will have 3 village alliances, 3 countries, and competing against other 3 countries. It's a competition about generating the maximum energy using our robot.
The Bhutanese team's manager said participating in the competition will open doors for Bhutanese youth to take part in such events in the future.
Our Bhutan team has been working very hard for the past 4-5 months, and we will do our very best to represent Bhutan. We have already talked with the officials of the Royal Education Council, where from next year the winner of the next National Olympiad will participate for the next Robotic Olympiad competition.
The 2018 first Global Robotic Challenge will be held in Mexico City from 16th to 18th of this month. This is Ringdandu for BBS News.
Chirang District Court sentenced a reporter to 3 months prison term for a libel case on Monday. The reporter based in Chirang works for the national newspaper Quinsal.
The verdict ordered the reporter to compensate the plaintiff for defamation by paying a sum of 45,000 ngitam. The verdict also stated that the defendant will have to apologize to the victim by posting an apology statement on Facebook and keep it for a month. The reporter can, however, pay in lieu of the prison term. The case came to light in June last year when the reporter posted an article on a Facebook wall about a woman mistreating her 6-year-old stepdaughter. The post went viral. The woman then complained to the police. The reporter had earlier requested the court to dismiss the case, reasoning that pursuing such cases would only discourage people from reporting child abuse cases, fearing the court hassles. Citing the Constitution and Child Care and Protection Act of Bhutan, she said her post was purely in the interest of the child and a bona fide expression made in the interest of public. But the prosecutor from the police argued the reporter used the wrong medium to bring the issue to the limelight. According to the Penal Code of Bhutan, a defendant shall be guilty of the offence of libel if the defendant defames another person through the means of writing, drawing or photographing. Phonam Gyojin Sirang, Sonamongdi, PBS News.
Phuntsholing Dungkha Court sentenced 9 men from 1-month violation fine to 9 years in prison for raping a 13-year-old girl, sexual harassment, failure to report the crime and assist the authority. The incident took place in October last year. 7 of them are private vehicle drivers. The judgment was passed on Tuesday.
According to the judgment, 2 drivers were sentenced to 9 years in prison for raping the girl. They were also asked to pay a compensation of 45,000 ngitam each to the girl. Another driver was handed down 4.5-year sentence for attempted rape. The court also convicted and sentenced 2 men who are also drivers to 3 years in prison for child molestation. A 55-year-old non-Bhutanese who worked as a caretaker in a workshop was sentenced to 11 months in prison for sexual harassment. Another man was sentenced to 2 months in prison for failing to assist the lawful authority. 2 more drivers are ordered to pay fine for failing to report the crime. However, some of the convicts can pay in lieu of imprisonment. In October last year, the father of the girl filed a missing report with the police 3 days after the girl did not come home after school. During the investigation, it was found that the convicts had taken her to Wangdifoda before bringing her back to Phinseling. She was found in a hotel in Phinseling after a week. Meanwhile, OAG is discussing whether to appeal the case to the higher court or not. For Changadoji, Sunampem for BBS News.
Allocation of new parking place for taxis in Galifu has delighted cab drivers who were troubled with inadequate parking space in the past. The old taxi parking located in the heart of Galifu town had capacity of only around 30 taxis. The new parking site will accommodate more than 200 vehicles at a time. The struggle to find a parking spot at the designated taxi parking will not be a problem for cabbies in Galifu anymore. This worry has been put to rest by the newly designated taxi parking lot, which can accommodate more than 200 vehicles. Taxi drivers share they are all happy as the only concern for them now will be to find passengers.
The bus terminal is here and the old taxi parking was way down there. People did not know where to get a taxi. But now all the commuters, especially the ones who come from other districts, can straight away see the taxi parking.
There was space for only around 32 taxis down there. It was very inconvenient. We were appealing for a new parking space and it was allotted here, although it is still under construction. It is located very conveniently. It has enough for more taxis in the future as well.
Compared to the old parking, it is more spacious out here. We are all grateful.
At the handing-taking ceremony, police advised the cab drivers to drive cautiously, especially while traveling through the Indian routes. Taxi drivers also distributed waste bags to encourage proper waste management. There are around 400 taxis registered in Sarbang, Songkhak. For Karmongdi in Sarbang, this is Pasang Doji for BBS News. Well, that's all for this week. You can get updated on our other stories through our website www.bbs.bt. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Until next time, this is Pasang Doji saying goodbye.